I'll explain about why the government is setting this one of its kind greenfield township, and what are the components of this township, and what are the opportunities for companies of different kinds to participate in it, to be a part of it. And post that, after I complete speaking, maybe for about 20-22 minutes or so, post that if you want to ask anything, seek any clarification, make any suggestions, most welcome. I'll also type my mail ID in the chat window so that if you want to send some direct feedback as well, that is also welcome. So let me get into my kind of speech straight away. Now, in our country, as you would know, urban centers are playing a major part in economic growth, in development, in creating more jobs, in creating new economic opportunities. Cities are the major hubs of our country's growth and development. But this is one part, which is obviously very true. But then there is another part, and that is something which people lament about, not just those who live in the US or elsewhere, even we who live in India kind of feel disturbed about it, that cities are seeing a very haphazard kind of growth. Cities are growing in an unplanned way. It is kind of urban sprawl, and development happens first, and then infrastructure catches up, and there's always some shortcoming or the other. So quality of living in the sprawl goes down completely. But the reality is that people in thousands continue to migrate to cities, and these are not just low-end kind of people who are looking for wages, etc. There are lots of people of very high skills also who move to cities to kind of make their prospects brighter and better. So these are the realities, that cities will continue to remain important magnets of growth. People will continue to move to cities. But at the same time, cities are not offering the kind of quality of living. And see, as all of us know, different cities have carrying capacities, and many of the cities were planned and built keeping a particular population capacity in mind. Those capacities are far exceeded. We are literally stretched. Even if there is a slight rainfall in a city like Bombay or Delhi or Bangalore or even in Hyderabad, for that matter, you see urban flooding in so many places, and that is the reality. So one solution which has been spoken about, lots of urban planners, lots of experts speak about townships, satellite townships. And this is not a new thing. People have been speaking about satellite townships since, I would imagine, 2-3 decades. But unfortunately, in India, we don't see any great example or any successful example of a township which has really taken away the burden from a main city. It has yeah, and which has created its own impetus for growth and development, etc. There have been some townships, so I don't want to name names. There are a few townships which have been tried out, but one of them, which is very celebrated and also in big time trouble, is something which was developed on a very elitist kind of a line. So it is a township meant only for, see, in cities we have gated communities. Now I've taken that gated community far away from the city, but that is not how township has to be. It has to be inclusive. It has to reflect the way the regular city is. You have the most prosperous people, and of course, people who are trying to kind of improve their livelihoods. They all live in the same socioeconomic context. Some townships are too far from the main city to lose interest of people to go there and live there and settle down. Because while you can recreate as much of amenities as possible, you can't possibly recreate everything. So we have lots of lessons to kind of look into in India, particularly. So our government has also felt the need to decongest Hyderabad, take away the pressure from Hyderabad, but at the same time create a township which is close to Hyderabad, which is designed in a way that there are multiple economic imperatives, economic drivers. It is also inclusive. Plus, because we are doing it now, lots of advancement of knowledge, technology, climate resilience, smart city features, all those are also built in, which are much more user friendly, which are much more kind of latest state of the art. So with these ideas in mind, we have decided to set up a greenfield township, which is called Bharat Future City. This is about 20 kilometers from the Hyderabad International Airport, 25 kilometers to be precise. roughly about 20 kilometers of driving distance from the Hyderabad International Airport. This is towards the southeast actually. So some of you who understand India or Telangana or Andhra Pradesh well, there is a holy site, a pilgrimage center called Shri. So this is roughly in that direction. When you travel from Hyderabad to Sri, this is roughly in that direction. Uh, from the city, from the Hyderabad city, the government has sanctioned a metro rail connectivity. So there will be easy way to access this city, this township. And from the airport, a 6-lane expressway is being developed. So if you just land at the airport and drive, it will be just a 20 minutes drive. If you come from the city to this place, let us say the current CBD in the city is called Cyberabad. People who are familiar with Hyderabad would know this is the place where all the tech companies, etc., are located. So from there, it could be about a 45 minutes kind of a metro ride. So not very far, close to the main city, etc. The second impressive thing about this Bharat Future City is scale. So this is being developed presently in 30,000 acres, and the possibility to expand it also through land pooling, etc., is there. I'll tell a little bit more about that. But 30,000 acres is a huge extent. It is not like a few other townships which are in some 2,000 acres, 5,000 acres. They are just extension of these gated communities that we see in the cities, etc. But this is 30,000 acres. So very, very vast. Now, the other very important thing is that we have developed a master plan for these 30,000 acres. And the master planning has been done by a very reputed company. It is a Singapore-based company which has a huge track record, a huge body of work of a large number of townships, industrial parks, and so on and so forth. This master planning agency is called Surbana Jurong. So they have prepared the master plan. Now, the highlights of the master plan are like this. The whole area has been divided into 10 zones. This entire 30,000 acres has been broken in 10 zones. I'll tell you about each of these zones briefly. So one zone is focused on education. We are calling it Education City. The intention of the government is to bring the best global educational institutions. As you would know, many global universities have started setting their Indian campuses in India. A few Australian universities, a few British universities, a few uh, I think German universities have already been given lands and infrastructure to set up the Canadian universities. They have been given some facilities to set up their campuses here. So Education City also has the same intent to attract the best global universities, higher educational institutions to set up their campuses there. One more zone is called the Medical Tourism Zone. So again, as the name explains, this is so many of you who are familiar with Hyderabad would know that we have very high quality healthcare institutions. In fact, if you go to some of the best known healthcare institutions, if you just go to the reception, stand at the reception, typically hospitals display a list of all their doctors, all their specialities, etc., behind the reception. Typically, you'll find a huge board where all these things are displayed. And if you go to any big hospital in Hyderabad and read that board, you will find literally everyone has been trained abroad, largely in the US or UK, has worked there, and has now come back and joined this institution. So despite so much of talent and skills, of course, we do get international patients, not to say that we don't get anyone, but we typically get international patients, let us say from a Bangladesh or an Afghanistan or some of these African companies, some of these smaller Middle East companies like Bahrain and Oman. We don't get patients from affluent countries. We don't get people from America or UK and so on, despite the fact that there are serious challenges there. I have also lived in the US for 1 year as a student. I know the high cost, the fact that insurance doesn't cover everything. And in the UK, where also I was a student, the long waiting times for various kinds of procedures and all that. So in India, things are very different. So we are setting up a medical tourism zone with the interest to bring international institutions, healthcare institutions to set up their facilities and interspread Indian systems of medicine. So as you would know, in India also we have this naturopathy, Ayurveda, which has its own appeal. People across the world understand things like yoga and Indian soft power for all these kind of things. So that is the medical tourism zone. The third zone is on sports. So our idea, some of you who follow sports may know that one very prominent sports cluster, which is world renowned, is called the Dubai Sports City. So our plan is to set up something like this. A Hyderabad Sports City, which is spread, Dubai Sports City was on 1200 acres. We have allotted 1000 acres for this out of this 30,000, where we will have academies, training facilities, stadiums, and things like that for about 15 to 17 Olympic sports. And we will be providing high quality coaching. There'll be young children will be receiving the coaching. There'll be schools for the children, dormitories, sports equipment, and this and that. So a big sports hub will be there. That is the third zone. The fourth zone pertains to technology. Like, as I mentioned, all of you would know that Hyderabad is a very big tech hub. Close to 1 million people work there. Large number of American companies have taken space in Hyderabad. All the big five are there in Hyderabad. And today, as you know, most of the tech is being driven by artificial intelligence or AI. So the tech zone in the future city, we are calling it AI city. And the idea is to invite companies to set up their centers, their innovation. We are also setting up a facility where GPUs will be provided and hardware facilities will be there. Some lands will be available for companies to set up their own campuses, but we are also expecting some developers to build high-rise commercial buildings where AI companies, IT companies can go. So that is one AI city. There are 5 zones which pertain to different kinds of manufacturing. I mentioned in the beginning that we want to create some economic imperative so that people work there and they find living opportunities also there and social infrastructure. So there are 5 parcels for different kinds of industry. So as you would know, life sciences is a very important industry. So life sciences, biotechnology, biopharma, R&D, all that is one cluster. One more cluster is on electronics, semiconductor. That also is important for India and also important for Telangana. One cluster is on electric vehicles. As you know, EVs are becoming very important. Both the national government and the state governments have ambitious plans for transitioning all their vehicular feeds completely become net zero. So one manufacturing cluster is on EVs. One cluster is on furniture. Some of you may find it surprising, but as you know, because of this geopolitical realities, in India, lots of furniture is imported from China. And companies like IKEA and so many others have also set up their retail stores. As you would know, the first IKEA retail store in India was set up in Hyderabad. Their supply chain is all outside India. So we are trying to set up a park where all this supply chain can come in. One park is actually, it's a mixed park, but the plan is to allot it to developers who can bring companies from a particular region. So for example, a Japanese industrial park. So there's a company in Japan, infra company called Marubeni. We have given some lands to them there. So the idea is that they will develop the infrastructure and bring Japanese companies of all kinds there. One industrial park is being given to a Taiwanese developer. So they will develop something and bring Taiwanese people there. We are similarly in touch with Koreans also, hoping to attract them to set up an industrial park, and it is possible to extend it to other nationalities as well. So these are the 5 manufacturing zones. So 4 zones which focus on themes: education, health, sports, and IT. 5 which are on manufacturing. There is one zone which is the 10th zone, which is a township where all your housing and shopping, retail, entertainment, housing of different kinds, high-end housing, studios, working class kind of housing, all those things will be there. So that is a residential neighborhood, but it will also have malls and shopping outlets and entertainment and cinemas and food courts and all those kind of things. That way, a housing kind of a community has to be there. So that is the 10th zone. The 11th zone is a recreation zone. So I mentioned to you that we have 30,000 acres of land. 15,000 acres are forest areas in that reserve forest, which we want to convert into recreation but a very eco-friendly kind of a recreation. It will have, and also of course, as a part of the township also, some recreation will be there. This urban kind of recreation, some amusement park kind of things. But ecotourism. So, for example, one of the plans that we have is to have a jungle safari, an animal farm, birds park, butterfly park, some water bodies. Chief Minister wants to do very thick plantations in that area so that lots of nature can be enjoyed. So these are the 11 zones which are being set up in the park in the future city. I will give you maybe a little bit of description about one zone so that you understand the way in which the zones are proposed to be developed. So let me give you some kind of insights about the education city. So in the education city, our plan is to get at least 10 to 15 universities of global standards. We have developed plots of 25-acre size in that education city. So if a large university is coming with multiple disciplines and all that, they can take two plots, which will make it 50 acres. If someone is just setting up a few faculties, it will be 25 acres. If someone is coming even in a smaller way, just one or two schools, they can take half of it. So different size of plots are available there. Now, few things to tell you about how we will do the allotment in the education city in the future city. So one very important point to note is that the land is absolutely free of cost. You don't require to pay even 1 rupee for land. Land is totally free. No other city, no other government in the country will tell you that they're giving land for free. Even if it is being given on lease, the lease will be just maybe 1 rupee every year or 2 rupees every year. I mean, literally free of cost. You don't have to pay for land. The second very important thing is that, as I told you, we are planning to get 10 to 15 universities in that city. Now, there are, when you look at any university, all of us have been to universities. If you recall our own universities, we will remember that they used to provide classrooms, labs, libraries, but then there were lots of add-ons. For example, there would be a basketball court. In India, colleges provide cricket grounds, etc. There'll be dormitories, there'll be some cafeteria. Now, what we are proposing is that as a university, you spend your money, your capex, only on the core infrastructure. You spend money on your classroom, your lab, your faculty rooms. You don't have to develop cricket field. I don't want 20 cricket fields to come in that area. Someone else will develop maybe 2 cricket fields on your behalf. Someone else will develop students' housing on your behalf. Someone else will set up a pharmacy which caters to all the students on your behalf. Someone else will do some small shopping center on your behalf. Someone else will set up a swimming pool or 2 swimming pools on your behalf. So your money will only be spent on core infrastructure of rooms, etc. Your capex comes down. The third important thing to tell you is that in India, whichever state you go to, private universities are set under a law. Every state has its own law called the Private University Act. Now, every state, without exception, has certain restrictions as per these laws. Like you have to provide reservations. So as all of you know, in India, there are social categories which are given reservations. Similarly, there is some local, non-local kind of quota. Similarly, there is some fees cap and stuff like that. So we have taken a decision that any international university which is setting up its campus in the education zone here, all these laws are exempt. You don't need to follow any law. You can charge your own fees. You can do away with any kind of reservation quota. There is no local. There is no non-local. Anyone can join you. That is one. The next important feature is, and this is a very, in my opinion, a very kind of an eyeball grabbing kind of a feature. The feature is like this: that suppose some university. So I studied in Harvard, so I can tell you about my university. So let us say the business school says that or I went to the Kennedy School, to be frank. So let us say the one of the most popular courses in Kennedy School is a 2 years MPA program, Masters in Public Administration. Suppose they tell us that I will bring this course to India and I will set it up in Hyderabad. But I have done my maths. My maths shows that in order for that course to be economically viable, I must have 100 students every year in every batch. So as a state, we will give a guarantee to them that you start your admission process. Suppose you get only 70 students by any chance, I will pay the fees of 30 remaining students. So at no point in time will you lose money. At no point in time will the decision to come to India will incur losses to you. You may not make extravagant profits, but you will not lose money. Then, of course, there are certain other advantages. As I mentioned to you, this university campus will be a part of Future City, which is one of its kind, possibly the best township which has ever been developed in India and will ever be developed in the future as well. You will feel proud that I'm living in my university is in this kind of a campus. We also, as you know, Hyderabad being in the center of the country, we also have lots of logistics advantages. It is very well connected. Telugu diaspora is very strong in the US and elsewhere. It is very easy to get faculty, recruit faculty. Look at the example of BITS, which has a campus in Hyderabad, IIT, which has a campus in Hyderabad. You will be surprised to know that these institutions, even though they came later, are today attracting better faculty than some of the older IITs, some of the older BITS, just because it is in Hyderabad. Suppose BITS was in some Kerala or, I mean, I don't mean any disrespect to Kerala or any other state, but just the fact that it is in Hyderabad, you get the best talent. Students from all over the country want to come here. And as a government, we will also promote this. See, as you know, most of the students today join higher education courses through education fairs. So if there is some education fair in Delhi and this particular university takes a booth there, as a government, we will co-promote this university. We will also go there so that this stamp that the government is behind this institution, that will also go. So these are some of the norms that we are following, and similar norms are there in everything. Medical tourism, if let us say some of the best American healthcare institutions says that I will set up a clinic there, nothing to pay. We are not interested even in 1 rupee of upfront payment or revenue sharing. This is something in India which is very common in PPP project, that fine, our initial lease will be small, but you share part of your revenue. We have no interest in sharing anything of yours. You need to give zero upfront money, zero money thereafter. We are only interested that you do something world class. And as a government, we reap all the downstream benefits. When people come there in hundreds and thousands, they spend money, they pay GST, they pay taxes, all that comes to the government. So I don't want to argue with you saying that you have to share 20% of your profit, 10% of your revenues and all that. Zero sharing, zero upfront payment. Everything is free, but no compromise on world class. I can share this with you. Again, I don't want to say this with any amount of disrespect. I told you that universities have started coming to India. One American university has actually given its formal letter with all its internal approvals to us, telling that we are keen to set up our campus in Hyderabad. We have not announced it, we have not made it public because this university, which has given its proposal, is not that well known. I mean, as I told you, I lived in the US for 1 year. I studied there. Somehow, I never heard of this university. I did some research on the internet. It's not to say that it's a fictitious university. Many people of Indian origin have created fictitious universities also and run some visa scams and all those things. So this is not, of course, that kind of university. It exists. It's an old university, but still, just because it is not that well known, we have not said yes to it. So this is the idea that if you do something world class, we will roll out the red carpet. Everything will be perfect for you. But you have to bring something world class. So this is how all these zones are located. Even in the manufacturing zones, the prices of industrial plots are way, way below what the market there is. In the other zones also, the sports zone also, we are giving at least the sports part of it literally at free of cost. But a few promoters with whom we have spoken, they have told that just to make the sports viable, we have to create some streams of revenue which are commercial in nature. There also we are charging very, very nominal amount. So the idea of the government is not to make money from this project. The idea is to show something which is really world class. Two more things which I'll tell. I noticed that I've exceeded the time I'd set for myself, but in two minutes, I'll tell two more things. One is we are also, because the vision of this future city is world class, we are also bringing very high quality infrastructure there. One important principle is that we are developing this township as a net zero township. So sustainable green principles will be followed. In fact, let us say if you have to go to this township from Hyderabad, you travel in your car, your diesel car or your petrol car, you will be stopped at the gate. You will not be allowed to go inside. You will be asked to shift to an electric shuttle bus or a kind of some other electric vehicle, and then only no petrol vehicles will be allowed inside. The entire source of power will be green power. Even the manufacturing players will not be allowed to use coal-fired boilers, etc. They have to rely on gas, etc. So very and as I told you, the master planning has been done by a very eminent agency which understands the best of the world. So all of us have seen American cities, etc. The kind of pavements, walkways, greenery, and and we will bring little bit of modernity also. So young people want to hang out. There'll be plazas, there'll be hangout spaces. So very elegant way of designing. We are very keen that all this infrastructure development happens on a PPP mode. So we would be very keen if private companies come forward. So the last point which I want to tell you is that there are umpteen opportunities for American companies, private companies in all the zones that I spoke about. If you are in that line of activity, you can participate. I would also request USIBC to help us. So I would like to reach out to the best American universities, motivate them to set up their campuses in Hyderabad. But I don't know many of them. Even I don't even know whom to kind of approach, who are the key decision makers. Many of you would have studied in the US as well, or you would have a network in which you are connected. So give us leads. Medical tourism, I mentioned about the need to get American healthcare institutions. Who are they? We don't have too much of familiarity. Similarly, the other verticals that I spoke about, recreation, the housing part, the township part, umpteen number of opportunities. Any amusement park, let us say Five Flags or Disney or Universal. If they say that I'm interested to come to India, straight away we have huge extents of land and located in Hyderabad as a great city. Similarly, if you want to develop infrastructure, or even if you are just an investor, you don't want to do anything, but you just want to invest, we are setting up a future city development fund. You invest and all the returns that we will make through the township and all. Township will be commercialized. Everything else, as I told, will be totally free. The education hub will be free, sports will be free, but the 3,000 odd, 4,000 odd acres, which we have set aside for the township part, where your retail, where your entertainment, where your shopping, high-end housing and all that will come, that obviously will be commercialized.